Welcome back to another update. Today I'll be giving you the second update on my project FB Rx-7. If you're watching this video, make sure to stick around to the end where I'll be showing you a quick video, if you haven't already seen the engine, on my progress on the engine as well.
You breathing in and out of my
One of the first things that I started working on was the suspension. As you guys seen on my Instagram, I bought BC coilovers, and the BC coilovers require some modifications. I've been updating that on my Instagram, and I kind of posted a couple of pictures on my story. If you didn't catch it, what I'll do is I'll probably post it down at the bottom on my profile so you can click back and kind of see that. But what you do is you cut off the bottom section of the spindles off the Rx-7. So what you do is you cut and then you basically weld. So that's what I did. And then I POR 15 the bottoms just so they don't get rusty. Right here on the bottom is where it connects to the ball joint, so I'm not too worried about that. So this is the complete project. This is pretty much what it should look like. I did end up POR 15 the back plates as well, just to kind of get them rust free and I guess looking decent. You don't really see this much when it's on the car, but I did want to just clean it up since I was here anyways. So next I have the rotors, which are brand new. These rotors, I will be just giving them a coat just because they will rust over time. So might as well get them cleaned up and looking decent. This was one of the first things I was working on was the suspension. Now, it's probably tough to see in the video, but this car was resprayed, and it was a pretty good job, but there was some overspray in a couple of things. It's not perfect by any means, but I'm actually okay with that. Most of you guys know I prefer my cars to have a few imperfections. That way I'm not too scared to drive it, and overall I really just get to enjoy it. It's not much of a show car. It's perfect for my taste, and this is perfect for me. I think it's clean enough where it looks really good, but it's definitely not a 10 out of 10. That's cool with me. So on the bottom, what I ended up doing was just giving it an undercoat. Probably tough to see from this position, but everything is nice and clean. I did all four sides, got everything nice and cleaned up, so everything looks really good. In the rear, I haven't done any of the axle components, and I still haven't installed the rear suspension as far as the BC stuff. It's something I'll probably get to today. As you can see, I'm obviously in my other garage where I was storing my GT500 on this side, and I had the Samurai over here, but this garage is temperature controlled, and I figured, you know what? I'm doing a lot of work. Why would I want to do it when it's cold anyways? So I decided to kind of bring everything over here. So this is where I'm working on the FB. These are just some parts that I have to clean up and paint and kind of just clean up some of this rust so I can put it back on. But the major thing I've been working on for the last couple of days was the engine bay. So the engine bay was in pretty rough shape. From the last video, if you haven't seen that, I'll try to put a link around here if I know how to do it. If I don't, then you'll have to go back on my YouTube and just click the video, which was the first update on the Rx-7. And one of the things I spoke about was pretty much, I didn't know what to do with the engine bay. I didn't know if I wanted to go full nuts and take everything out and do a complete shave bay, everything painted nice, or if I wanted to just leave everything as stock as possible with AC, power steering, things like that, and just kind of install my engine and clean it up a little bit and kind of just drive it like that. That was my first option, to be honest with you. It's really what I wanted to do. But after looking at the engine, I completely forgot that I'm running an external line, and where the external line is placed, I won't be able to run the AC in the power steering bracket. So unfortunately, I can't go that route. I'm also not a huge fan of shave bays on these kind of cars. Let me correct that. I love shave bays on certain cars. Stuff like this, I just don't know. I mean, especially for me, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not here to win any trophies with this thing. Really here to just have something that's clean, that I can street drive and things like that. So what I ended up going with was just cleaning up the original bay. Some of the paint actually looks pretty good. Some of the paint down here, not so much. It looks like, honestly, Mazda, because this car was never painted in the engine bay, and this is the original color. Looks like Mazda honestly missed some of the rails here and a couple of things. So you can see you can see the primer through the paint. That's what you get. With some of the older 80s stuff, it's kind of perfectly imperfect, if that makes any sense. They're really cool old cars, but they're just that. I mean, they didn't pay that much attention to detail. So even on my Samurai, it's the same thing. You can kind of see where some spots were missed or some of the welds don't look as good as today's standard, but it's cool. It's kind of what gives it characteristic. So I started taking everything out. Everything got eliminated that I know I don't need, and just kind of cleaning stuff up. I started putting some of my zinc hardware that I had from basically when I built the motor that I knew I'd use in whatever project was going in. I installed a new clutch master cylinder, new slave, and I ordered the new brake master cylinder from Mazatrix, so that's on the way. Let me walk around this side so you can get a view of this side. I pretty much just cleaned it up and got all the grease and grime and all that nasty looking stuff out of there. So on this side of the rails, it looks like this car might have had some kind of brake leak over time. And if you guys don't know, brake fluid does eat paint. So the little bit of paint it did have here, it looks like it ate it up a little bit. I'm not sure what to do here. I have a couple of options. I can try to get this paint code matched in a can and try to see if I could blend this area in, or if I can POR 15 either just this rail or do the whole thing. But the truth is, I'm not interested in taking everything out and getting this painted. My view on that is if you're really not pushing for a show car and trophies, and if that's your thing, then that's cool. But as far as me, I have goals to drive this car within the next month. So make this a running, driving, enjoyable car within the next month. And that really all depends on if I get my parts and things like that. But as far as my job and getting all this stuff together, that's definitely going to happen within the next month. So that's pretty much an update on the exterior. As far as the interior goes, I did do some cleaning and I still have more to do here. The seats, I got new skins from Racing Beat. Racing Beat actually remakes these skins to look as factory as possible. So there is a wait time, especially with COVID. So I am waiting for that to come in. But pretty much I will be restoring the brown leather. And with that, so it's going to be with new skins. And I'm going to bring it to an upholstery shop that can basically redo the foam and get the seat looking brand new. Because other than the seats, the interior's in pretty good shape. Not a whole lot to redo here. I'll probably install an aftermarket radio just because that radio doesn't work. And I got to listen to something. I'm also going to do the rear rug. So that'll get installed. Hopefully the upholstery shop can get me something that matches that back one or just redo that back one altogether. So a couple other things that I'm working on the car are getting the rear axles made in 4x114.3. So the GSLs are originally 4x110, and I have GSL SE front suspension, which makes it 4x114 in the front, and in the rear was a bit of a challenge. So I ended up sourcing GSL SE axles and a couple other components that should work in this car, and then I ran into the big problem, which is pretty much running GSL SE rear calipers. They pretty much don't exist anymore, and the people that have them want a ton of money. So I didn't know if it made sense to invest that much money into this. And one of the other issues was with the GSL SE, the axles actually are about a half an inch longer, which basically means that it would have extended the wheel out even that much more. So I was really looking to get this rear wheel as flush as possible. It's probably going to stick up a little bit. Obviously, it's much bigger than the original. I ended up getting the axles and rear disc rotors, which are not these are the fronts, but by a local car guy. Check him out on Instagram. That's Bones Parts Innovation. He does a bunch of one-off stuff as well, so he was able to help me out with that. They're currently at his shop, and I'm just waiting to pick them up. So as soon as he calls me, I'll be able to put the original axles back on here with the right bolt pattern. Not only that, like I said, help me tuck that wheel in a little bit more. That's coming on the way. I'm waiting on some components for the front so I could bolt on my suspension, and then ultimately waiting for the Weber carburetor to come in. Those are on like national back order just due to COVID and things like that. That's pretty much it. If everything works out as planned and I get my parts hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, if I get that Weber carburetor, this will be a running and driving car. So it looks like there's still a ton of work to be done, but I can pretty much get this car going fairly quickly. I have the header, which needs to get installed, some exhaust stuff, and a lot of little things like that. All right, guys, thank you for watching. If you've watched this far, I appreciate that, and just wanted to give that update on the car and where I was at and show you the progress that I've made so far. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm obviously trying to grow this channel and bring you guys cool content of cars that I'll be building. There's a long list of cars that I'll be building after this, and obviously I have other projects going on that I'd love to give some coverage on so that you guys can see. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Please like this video. Share if you can on your Instagram. Other than that, guys, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Stay tuned for more updates. Hopefully the next update will be me installing the engine in it after I get all the components on and get the rear wheels on and things like that. Thanks for watching. As promised, here it is. This is going to be the engine going inside of the Rx-7. This was a spare engine that I had that I got in a trade, and I had it sitting in the garage for a long time, and I actually met this guy that worked on engines, and he had done one for a friend, so he convinced me to build this engine. And this was pretty much built as a spare motor for the Samurai, and I decided to go all out. Honestly, it gave me a great price to get it done. So what I ended up doing was, and don't mind the dent right there, it actually tipped over last month and it made a dent. Luckily the only damage was on the filter, and I have about 4 brand new ones. So, but going back to what I was saying, so we ended up building this motor, and I ended up getting everything powder coated. So all the plates and housings are professionally powder coated by Cayman Coatings. Shout out to him. Phenomenal work, local guy. And all the hardware was zinc coated professionally at a coating place, just to give you that OEM look back. So that's what I ended up doing with this engine. This engine will be carbureted. So the Rx-7 is going to be carbureted. So I will be running a distributor, old school distributor, with the 6AL MSD boxes. Always wanted a setup like this. They're really cool. It's really open here, so there's nothing going here. This will stay wide open just like this. This is the factory fill tube. I haven't even placed it in, so it's a little wobbly. And then on this side would be the carburetor updraft. I'm going to be going with Weber. I'm not sure if the 48 or the 51. I still haven't decided. This is a 6-port motor, guys. A lot of you guys that know rotaries would know what that means. Probably one of the less desired 13B engines out there, which I would say more recently they've become a lot more common, and people are starting to realize that you can do great things with these 13Bs as well. This came out of an 88 Rx-7, so 2nd gen. And the housings are semi-peripheral ported. So from factory, this is where I think one side would be for the water to basically cool down the intake, I believe. But that was eliminated. And this motor was originally fuel injected, but now it's going to be carbureted. So it's pretty cool. These get honed out, and then pretty much gives you an additional intake port. And then you block off the injector ports with this kit. But it has all FD internals out of 3rd gen Rx-7 internals as far as the seals and things like that. I am running super seals in this motor. Like I said, originally this motor was built for the Samurai, but other things came up, and honestly the engine in the Samurai has been great, so I really don't need to do too much there. So why not put this thing to use? A brand new alternator. That's it, guys. Just wanted to show you guys the engine as promised and give you that quick update on the car. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe if you want to see more of the Rx-7 build. Thanks.